What if I told you a song that was released more than a year ago just made a comeback on the charts, climbing back up as if it were freshly released yesterday? Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what just happened with BTS's Jimin, and the way it happened is going to give you goosebumps. Let's dive into it. Recently, Jimin's track, Who, shocked fans and the music industry alike when it climbed 13 spots on both the Billboard Global 200 and the Global Excl US charts. That means, even though the world has been flooded with thousands of new songs since its release, Who is still pulling listeners back in, refusing to be forgotten. This week, it sits proudly at 109th on the Global 200 and 77th on Global Excl US. That's not just persistence, that's impact. Now here's where it gets wild. Who isn't just surviving, it's making history. The song has now spent 61 consecutive weeks on the Billboard Global 200. That's more than 14 months non-stop since its release on July 19, 2023. Think about that. Most songs peak, fade, and vanish within a few weeks. But Jimin's music has the kind of staying power that feels almost untouchable. And here comes the heart-stopping twist. Who has officially tied with Jimin's own Like Crazy from his debut album Face. Both tracks now hold the record for the longest charting K-pop solo songs on the Billboard Global 200 at 61 weeks each. But what makes it even more remarkable? These weren't built on collaborations with Western stars or boosted by industry gimmicks. They were powered purely by Jimin's voice, his artistry, and the devotion of his listeners. And it's not just the singles making waves. Jimin's second album, Muse, has been rewriting the history books too. It became the first and only K-pop solo album ever to hit #1 on Billboard's World Albums chart 8 times. And even now, more than a year later, it's holding steady at #8, marking its own streak of 61 consecutive weeks on the charts. To put that in perspective, the only K-pop solo album that's lasted longer is Jimin's own Face, which charted for 63 weeks. In other words, Jimin is literally his own competition. But the comeback wave doesn't end there. In Japan, the story is just as jaw-dropping. Who re-entered the Billboard Japan Hot 100 at number 81, bringing its total run to 38 weeks. The last time a K-pop soloist achieved that kind of feat was Bowie's legendary Merry Christmas. That places Jimin in a league where only a handful of soloists from past generations have ever stood. And it gets better. The song also re-entered Billboard Japan's streaming songs chart at number 74, extending its run to 55 weeks. That's over a year of Japanese listeners pressing play again and again. This isn't luck. It's proof of timeless connection. Put it all together, and Jimin feels less like a solo artist and more like a national representative on the global stage. His music doesn't just perform well, it sets standards, breaks boundaries, and represents something larger than numbers. Fans often say listening to Jimin feels like being understood, like someone captured their emotions and transformed them into melody. And maybe that's why Who refuses to leave the charts, because it refuses to leave people's hearts. Think about it. 2 different albums, 2 different eras of his career, yet both carving out records that now stand side by side in history. This isn't coincidence, it's consistency. It's talent, it's authenticity. In an industry where trends come and go like waves, Jimin has shown that true artistry can anchor itself into cultural memory. Whether it's topping charts in America, breaking barriers in Japan, or simply giving comfort to a fan halfway across the globe, his music keeps traveling, keeps resonating, keeps inspiring. And here's the question. How many artists can say that over a year after release, their song is not only surviving, but rising again? That's not just popularity. That's legacy. Because while the charts show numbers, what they're really telling us is a story of resilience, of connection, of an unshakable bond between Jimin and the millions of people who keep pressing play. And judging by the way Who keeps coming back stronger, this story is far from over.